With me now is Emily Schrader, who is one of the organizers of this Adopt IHRA campaign for Facebook. We also want to note we reached out to Facebook executives here in Israel who did not agree to an interview today. With me now, again, Emily, explain exactly what the IHRA definition is and why you believe it's important that Facebook adopts that definition.
So first of all, thanks so much for having me on today. This is a really important issue that's close to my heart and a lot of others in the Jewish community. So I think it's important that this is coming up now. The IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, IHRA, we refer to it as IHRA, is unique in that it, of course, covers classical anti-Semitism, blood libels and the things that we think of when we think of anti-Semitism before. But it's unique in that it also provides concrete examples of modern anti-Semitism. And this is something that social media platforms have had a really hard time tackling and understanding how to interpret it and how to deal with it when it comes up on their platform.
Give me an example here of what we would consider modern or new age here.
Right, so when we're talking about modern anti-Semitism, it can be anti-Semitic tropes or conspiracy theories, but what we've seen on social media in particular is that they're replacing the words Jews or Judaism with Zionism or Zionists or even the state of Israel. So it's a complete demonization of the Jewish state, only the Jewish state, in a way that's double standards, and this is something that IHRA explicitly denotes with explicit examples in how they define anti-Semitism. And I think also something that's really important to note is that IHRA in and of itself doesn't necessarily say that you have to remove all of this hate speech. That's not necessarily what we're calling for Facebook to do. We're saying that the community standards that Facebook has today are insufficient in identifying anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism is a unique form of hatred and it manifests in different ways today that other groups don't face. They may face other forms of hate, but they don't face the same as ours.
There are over 100 organizations, NGOs that are on board with this. What has the response been? Has there been a response from Facebook executives?
So there hasn't been an official response from Facebook in regards to adopting IHRA specifically. There are over 125 organizations who have signed on to this letter calling for Facebook to adopt IHRA. This isn't something that's new to IHRA. In a Knesset committee last week and the week before, this issue was discussed with Facebook, who was present in the committee. I was also there. And we spoke to them directly about it. They have not provided an answer on whether they use that as a basis already, if they're going to, if they plan to. But given the problems that they've had in the past, I would obviously very highly recommend that they use this as a basis for examining the hate speech that's on their platform.
Some of the hate speech and controversies with Jew hating and Holocaust denialism postings, I mean, we'll pull up the quote here from Mark Zuckerberg. In the interview himself, he said 2 years ago that he knows there's people who are online posting Holocaust denialism. He doesn't want to remove that content. He finds it offensive. He's a proud Jew himself. Doesn't want to remove that because he wants a discussion. He wants people to be able to inform others and that kind of thing. Do we find that also some of the controversy about removing posts entirely rather than fostering a dialogue?
Yeah, so I do remember that Zuckerberg said this in 2018. What's interesting is that in Facebook's community standards, they state explicitly that denying a violent tragedy occurred against a specific group, that would be against their terms. So it's unclear, and Facebook hasn't provided an answer, if they actually do remove or ban users who do engage in Holocaust denial. We know that Holocaust denial exists on the platform, so they're not removing it, but we don't know if it's against their standards. And when it comes to removing the hate speech or fostering dialogue and discussion, personally, I'm in favor of less censorship, but Facebook isn't doing anything to educate them either. It's not like they're flagging the content and saying like, hey, according to the consensus Jewish community, over 125 organizations, they believe that this is anti-Semitic for these reasons.
They just let it slide.
Yeah, so it's just ignored, and then it's allowed to have thousands and hundreds of thousands of views, and it proliferates from there.
Emily, thank you so much for being with us and explaining more about this campaign and your goals for it. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you.